Man is not the creature of circumstances, circumstances are the creatures of men. Act only according to that maxim by which you can at the same time that it should become a universal law. Dare to know. Have the courage to use your own understanding. Morality is not the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. Science is organized knowledge. Wisdom is an organized life. The two things I know most about are metaphysics and morality. Always recognize that human individuals are ends in themselves, and do not use them as means to your end. The only way to escape the corruptible effect of praise is to go on working. All human knowledge begins with intuitions, proceeds from there to concepts, and ends with ideas. It is not God who is to make man happy, but man who is to make himself happy. Thoughts without content are empty, intuitions without concepts are blind. We can judge the heart of a man by his treatment of animals. Out of the crooked timber of humanity, no straight thing was ever made. Metaphysics is a dark ocean without shores or lighthouses, strewn with many a philosophic wreck. Refrain from doing something if you have even the slightest feeling that it would be incorrect. Our experience is composed rather of illusions lost than of wisdom acquired. We can be certain of nothing, except death and taxes. The only excuse for making a useless thing is that one admires it intensely. Every person is capable of an inner self-improvement. The only thing I know is that I know nothing. Two things awe me most, the starry sky above and the moral law within. We are never completely lost, as we can always find our way with reason. The death of dogma is the birth of morality. Treat men as if they are what they ought to be and you help them to become what they are capable of being. No man's error becomes his own law, nor obliges him to persist in it. The happiness of mankind is the purpose of creation. All our knowledge begins with the senses, proceeds then to the understanding, and ends with reason. Science is a unified body of knowledge, not an accumulation of facts. Ingratitude is the essence of vileness. You may delay, but time will not. The wise person recognizes his or her own limitations. Truth is the offspring of silence and unbroken meditation. An action is good if it would be a rule for all people. Beauty is a symbol of morality. It is what a man approves of that makes him beautiful. The most important thing in the world is to think for yourself. A lie will easily get halfway around the world before truth has time to put on its pants. The greatest happiness principle holds that the highest moral goal is the universal happiness of all human beings. The essence of our true nature is the capacity for self-improvement. Without music, life would be a mistake. The road to truth is long, and lined the entire way with annoying bastards. Happiness is not an ideal of reason, but of imagination. A man who is content with nothing is satisfied with everything. The wise man does not permit himself to be misled by fears and desires. Wisdom consists in doing the next thing you have to do, doing it with your whole heart, and finding delight in doing it. The voice inside your head may not be marketable, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be heard. The hardest thing to understand is why we can understand anything at all. Concepts without percepts are empty, percepts without concepts are blind. Man's greatest talent is his ability to tell himself legends and myths. To do something is to make oneself responsible for it. We cannot prove the existence of other minds, but we believe in them because our own existence depends on them. Aesthetic judgments are founded on feeling, not cognition. If you want to understand the world, seek the meaning behind the words you hear and the actions you see. No thought, no concept can possibly be expressed without a symbol. The greatest challenge of philosophy is to comprehend the paradoxes of existence. To profit from good advice requires more wisdom than to give it. By a lie, a man annihilates his dignity as a man. Science is a product of human curiosity and a desire to better understand the world. The human understanding is like a false mirror, which, receiving rays irregularly, distorts and discolors the nature of things by mingling its own nature with it. To have courage for whatever comes in life, everything lies in that. It was one thing to ask questions, it was another to learn all the answers. Happiness is not an ideal of reason, but of imagination. By all means marry, if you get a good wife, you'll be happy. If you get a bad one, you'll become a philosopher. One often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it. It is not the consciousness of men that determines their being, but, on the contrary, their social being that determines their consciousness. Pure reason can never attain the knowledge of God, only practical reason can do that. Honest egoism is a necessary condition for the self-respect of both the individual and the collective. We must not accept, we must challenge the world. In order to be an immaculate member of a flock of sheep, one must above all be a sheep oneself. The first step is to establish that something is possible, then probability will occur. The hand is the visible part of the brain. The feeling of respect is more important than the admiration of fools. Art is the beautiful way of doing things. Morality is not the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but of how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. Just as we cannot reason ourselves into abiding by moral laws, we cannot force ourselves to love someone. Intuition and concepts constitute the elements of all our knowledge, so that neither concepts nor intuition can be called the first in the order of time. All of our knowledge begins with experience. It is not necessary to understand things in order to argue about them. By seeking and blundering we learn. To know what we are, we must know what we are not. The more a man cultivates the arts, the less he venerates nature. No man can be held morally responsible for his actions except by himself. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Intelligence is not a measure of understanding, it is a measure of learning capacity. If we cannot eliminate paradox, we can at least watch it be born and strive to understand it. Self-interest rightly understood is the legitimate and moral attitude towards the general well-being. The way we express things is the way we think about them. The man who is inclined to think indifferently on any moral question is unfit for friendship. The essence of knowledge is not the knowledge itself, but the capacity to acquire it. An opinion that does not promote action is worthless. All the interests of my reason, speculative as well as practical, combine in the three following questions. 1. What can I know? 2. What ought I to do? 3. What may I hope? Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe, the more often and steadily we reflect upon them, the starry heavens above and the moral law within. Thus the universe as far as we can observe it is a wonderful and immense engine running down from a state of energetic fresh news into dispassionate heat death. Even philosophers still have to wash, feed, and clothe themselves and take care of themselves in all sorts of other ways.